And what you had there was the economy is recovering faster than expected. The long-term economic scarring from the COVID pandemic is less severe than the Office of Budget Responsibility thought just a few months ago. So the economy will be 2% smaller by the middle of the decade, not 3% smaller. That does give the Chancellor, 20 to 30 billion more in money to pay for that all. Now, when you get to the policy of this all, there has been talked about this tension between Rishi Sunak, who's wanted to be fiscally conservative, low tax, careful on spending, and then the big spender, Boris Johnson. I think that budget showed who'd won out, and it was certainly, I think, framed as a Boris Johnson budget, or that's how I saw it. I think that's how economists and observers will see it. But yeah, if you go back to what you just said about Labour governments, this is what Paul Johnson from the Institute of Fiscal Studies said. He said the 150 billion increase in departmental spending over the Parliament, that's a 3.8% real increase. He said these are big spending increases, much more in common with Brown and Blair than Osborne and Cameron. So if you wanted confirmation that Boris Johnson is taking Blair's clothes, and look no further than this budget. He's signalled his intent. Do you remember when he announced the big tax increase on national insurance? He said we are the party of the NHS when he did that. Now, so there's bigger spending than we expected. We'd expected that the Chancellor would put more away, perhaps for a rainy day, because he himself said that inflation is a concern. It could run up to 4%. What if there's another spike in COVID cases? But is it too good to be true almost? And I think that's where Rachel Reeves came in there, because from a Labour's perspective, what they're arguing is when you look into the figures, and we're just looking through them now, there's lots of tax increases here for people. VAT is going to go up 4 billion and then 9.3 billion per year for the next 2 years. Council tax, if you look at the Office for Budget Responsibility, it's going to go up to 12.1 billion, up 33% from now by 2026-7. So I think when we drill into the numbers, Rishi Sunak talks a lot about the big giveaways and a lot about the spending and a lot about cuts around alcohol duty, fuel duty. But in it, are there more tax rises for people? Because I think the acid test of this budget isn't the optics in the chamber, but in 5-6 months' time, are people struggling with inflation really feeling the squeeze of the cost of living, or are their lives improving under this government?
And have we managed to work out that key figure, whether more is being taken than is being spent, or the other way around?
In terms of the tax take?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like that there's a I don't know yet, actually. I haven't worked that out yet. I haven't looked through the Red Book. But when you look into the figures, this is what I was making the point on in terms of council tax and VAT. There will be much more hidden tax take than perhaps was presented by the Chancellor there.
And politically, Boris Johnson there wearing his COP26 Blue Planet badge, but Labour making a great deal, both at Prime Minister's questions and in their reply to the budget, over what's been done on climate change issues.
Well, exactly in that budget. I mean, the Prime Minister announced a cut in fuel duty, and he announced a freezing of air passenger duty, and a freezing of fuel duty. It hardly speaks to a greener agenda. So there's a lot of talk about being greener, but then in some of the policy decisions being taken, it's not reflected in actually the black and white ink of the Treasury.